when we started the streamline sales tax 25 years ago, uh,
God, that long ago?
yes, it
Oh,
was
you mean
25
oh,
years
yeah,
ago.
I mean, not at Avalara, but you just did it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
one of the things that the business community wanted us state folks to explore was a simpler and more uniform return.
Yeah.
And so every state brought all the returns in and we looked at everybody's returns. And then we started asking each other questions. Okay, why do you collect that information?
Yes.
And almost always it was because it was for research purposes.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
the only reason why I hear states talk about wanting a license from someone who doesn't sell something that's taxable is so they get that return that gives them an idea of what's going on inside their state.
Yeah.
If so in the 22 years I worked for South Dakota, I, um, 12 years working for the legislature and 10 years working for the Department of Revenue. I long ago lost count of the number of fiscal notes I had to prepare or defend.
Mm.
And they're virtually impossible to get right because you don't have the data. This was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Right.
A long time ago,
Yeah.
there was less data in general that
Mhm.
you go out and try to find. And the only data that any of us had was on that sales tax return. And for the most part, that was worthless because
Yeah.
you
Interesting.
couldn't count on it being right. And it didn't
Mhm.
go anywhere close to enough granularity to tell you, okay, yes, if you start taxing, this fence post, steel
Yep.
fence post, you start taxing a steel fence
How do
post,
you know?
you're going to
Yeah.
collect X amount
Yeah.
of money in sales tax. No idea.
Right.
Impossible.
No
So
way.
that
Yeah.
was
Interesting.
honestly, a rational state other than, you know, y- the problem with, departments of revenue is you only know what you get told. So when you issue a license to somebody, they tell you we're in the business of doing A, B, and C. And you
Yep.
say, okay, here's a tax return. Here's a way to file a return, make a payment for us. And this is the tax you should collect in A, B, and C. And
Yep.
3 months later, they do A, B, C, and D. You don't know they're doing
Yeah.
D.
Mhm.
It never occurred to you
Right.
to tell them anything about D.
Right.
So the only way that you can ever find out is to audit them. The only way you can audit somebody is if they have a license.
Right.
So it's the states that require a license for everybody, like South Dakota does. Some of that's self-defense, because with a reasonable straight face, I can say I have a legal right to talk to you because you have a
Yep.
license.
Yep.
But if you aren't if you're a comfortable person and you feel like you can find out enough about somebody, without having them have a license, it's they just take up space, and I guarantee you they're not filing an annual return. So every year you're going to send them a notice. Every year they're going to call up and whine. Why do I have to have a license in the first place? I don't collect any sales tax from you. Why do you
Yep.
make me do this? I'm sorry, sir. You owe us $25 anyway. You
Right.
owe us
Right. What's
$25
the
for not
point?
collecting any tax because you.
But it's a statute thing as a lawyer. I'm like, no, so many of our clients don't have statute because they didn't file anything.
Oh
That's
yeah.
my dispute on Tuesday. We didn't file anything. They didn't know, to their defense, but how, the duty's on them to know. And if you file something, at least you have statute. So there is a value to my mind, depending on, and if you're doing enough volume, what's another return you
Well,
could
and
do?
that's
You know what I
yes,
mean?
and if it's especially if it's an annual return,
Mhm.
there's just nothing. To,
But it's the memory. Like
it's the
when
memory.
you were doing it as a staff person
Yes.
and you don't have a system, you forget.
Yes.
And you can't compile, and it's not
Yep.
easy. And
And
so
then
that, I think, is a part that people don't understand, transactions within their own business.
the person that called the Department of Revenue and asked whether or not they needed to have a license, they retired, as is the person from the Department of Revenue. And so you have no defense when they do find you and ask you,
So
why
true.
don't you have a sales tax license? Well, you told me I didn't have to have one. Who told you that? So, so when I give my webinars, I apologize to people. I said, I used to be in, because I used to be in this business, and there's lots of things that go into the bucket of things you have to do if you're going to be a tax administrator. And one of them is to make you spend money on not collecting tax.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, it often costs more money not to collect tax
Yes.
because you got to defend yourself, and you have
Yep.
no idea when that's going to happen or
No.
how
That's
or
a lot.
how thorough that person's going to be when they do show up.